Austin Riley has a fractured hand, which means you need replacements. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Tuesday, August 20th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White, and the Braves' nightmare season continues. I am sorry, Scott. Austin Riley has a fractured right hand and will miss approximately 6 to 8 weeks, effectively ending his regular season for fantasy. Some names in the shallowest of leagues, just check to make sure they're not available. They're just below 80% rostered. Mark Vientos, Junior Caminero, Max Muncy. How would you rank those three?
Exactly how you listed them. Mark Vientos, who's actually my 13th third baseman rest of season, and Junior Caminero right behind him is 14th. And Max Muncy just came off the IL himself, back from a lengthy injury absence for a strained oblique, but he homered in his first game back here on Monday, and of course has all the benefits of batting in the Dodgers lineup. So he's not far behind those other two, but might be a little rusty despite the home run Monday. We'll see.
Yep. After that first group, you drop down a little bit. You got Michael Busch, Eugenio Suarez, and Colt Keith. Those names are between 60 and 70% rostered on CBS. How would you rank Busch, Suarez, Keith?
So Suarez would be number one with as much power as he's shown recently. Busch 2, Colt Keith 3, but I might switch those two and put Keith ahead of Busch in points leagues because he strikes out less. They're close enough that in a shallower league, I could see just playing the matchups, right? Going with the hot hand week to week with it for the rest of the season. Fill in for Riley that way. But if you're asking me to commit to one rest of season, it's Suarez.
And then some names in deeper leagues: Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Jonah Bride, Whit Merrifield, and Andres Chaparro. Mm-hmm. We're getting deep down here, Scotty, but if those are the top options, how would you rank those four?
Yeah, it's not great, but I would go Falefa 1. I guess. Yeah, Falefa 1. Kiner-Falefa. His actual last name is not just Falefa. Kiner-Falefa, Bride, Chaparro, and Merrifield.
Okay. Let's talk about Adrian Del Castillo, catcher with the D-backs, who might be awesome. He's looked that way so far. 2 for 4 with a sock and a shoe. He had 6 RBI here on Monday. He's homered in back-to-back games. He's played 9 games so far with the D-backs. He's batting .333 with 3 homers, 14 RBI, 1 steal, and a .1072 OPS. He's only 18% rostered. Scott, are you buying it? What we're seeing right now from Adrian Del Castillo?
Well, I'm at least buying that he hasn't totally wilted in his first major league chance. Like he's done enough that he deserves continued looks from the Diamondbacks and from those of us who play fantasy baseball. He was great at AAA /319, 403, 608, 24 homers in 100 games and great plate discipline all the way around. So even though you look at his stats in the majors so far, Del Castillo, and probably the most discouraging number is the 35% strikeout rate. Well, he showed in the minors that it could be better than that. And I think it will be if he continues to get looks. The second most concerning thing after that 35% strikeout rate is that he has been sitting against lefties. It started against one, but there have been a lot of lefties on the schedule for the Diamondbacks lately. So I'm hoping those trips to the bench will be a little more spaced out for Adrian Del Castillo going forward. I think there's a lot of upside here. I'm not going to call him a top 12 catcher rest of season because there are enough decent alternatives and all the questions about playing time and everything else prevent me from doing that for Del Castillo. But if you're in a one catcher league, you always have boring options to fall back on. So if you just want to chase the sizzle with Adrian Del Castillo, I don't have a problem with that.
Let's wrap up with a great pitching performance from Gavin Stone, who was up against the Mariners. He threw 7 shutout innings with a career-high 10 strikeouts, 15 whiffs on 90 pitches. This was actually Gavin Stone's first quality start since the complete game that he threw way back on June 26th. So awesome start here, Scott, but how much does this build confidence for you with Gavin Stone moving forward?
Not much. It had been so bad before this. That 7-start stretch was just terrible. 6.12 ERA, 170 WHIP. But he had 2 good matchups coming into this week. The Mariners, this first one obviously came through, and then the Rays next time out. So maybe this 10 strikeout effort against the Mariners is enough to slot him in for the Rays if you play in a league with daily lineup changes. But I don't know that I saw enough of a process change here to convince me Gavin Stone is a different pitcher. He did have a bunch of whiffs on the changeup, but he had that earlier in that 7-start stretch to a really rough start against the A's. Got a ton of whiffs with the changeup, and so I'm not sure that's really going to be a game changer for him. Overall, the strikeout rate has been underwhelming this year, and he just hasn't been consistent enough for me to treat him as anything more than a streamer type.
Again, that is Gavin Stone. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Odyssey app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.